Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Spirit Matters, your daily Bhakti Center podcast, where we are diving into the ancient spiritual truths of the Bhagavad Gita and learning how to apply them into our daily lives. We are here with our live studio audience and with our hosts, Dayal Guranga, Achyuta Gopi, and myself, Kishore. How are you doing, Dayal and Achyuta, today?
Oh my God, I'm perfect. My day started out perfectly.
I'm doing great.
Oh God. I am also doing great. My day started out quite perfectly as well. We are picking up where we left off from yesterday. We read a good amount of verses yesterday about the description of the soul. And I think we said that we would pick up from there because we just read them, but we didn't get a chance to get into them so much. Should we reread them?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I think we were reading from I think we read from text 19 to text
I think we can maybe start at 21.
Great. You want to take it away, Achyuta?
Sure. So I will read, I guess 21 to 25. Because that's
Yes,
where we left off at
that's
25.
where we left off. Yeah, perfect.
O Parth, how can a person, Krishna says, who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable, kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. That's where we were. And I think we had left off yesterday. There were so many points, but I think I had also left off saying that I had asked the question, then, like, what is worthy of grief and lamentation? If we are not grieving for the body at all, what is worthy of the lamentation? Because they do say lamentation is going to be there. And Krishna is even encouraging Arjuna to remember certain aspects that he should stay loyal to. So if we are not staying loyal to the body, then what is it that we are loyal to? What's worthy of our attachment? And I kind of came to the conclusion that it must be the relationships. It must be those connections, those really, actually deep hearted connections that we have with other spirit souls, regardless of the body that they have.
Say it, Kishore.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying.
We agree.
We agree. I think it's really, I love that there are those moments in life that sometimes feel inexplicable. Like when you meet someone and it feels like you've known them for your whole life, if not more lives, and something just clicks, you know? And I love that because we're talking about the soul, and whether you are a firm believer that we are a spirit soul, whether you're out there listening and you're kind of doubtful, like maybe, I don't know, there are those moments in life that are kind of undeniable and also inexplicable, where it's just like the soul is stirred, whether it be by an experience, whether it be by a person, whether it be by something that you're reading, right? And I think I love that you brought that element, Achyuta, because it's like, what is worth our lamentation if Krishna is saying that like these bodies and this material situation is not worthy of our lamentation? It's the soul, you know, it's the soul and its deep, truthful connections that it has with other souls, and the most important connection that it has with Krishna. because in the purport to verse 22, Srila Prabhupada speaks about this. I'll read it. He says, the Vedas, like the Mundaka Upanishad, as well as the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, compare the soul and the super soul, right? So my individual soul and the super soul, that is Krishna, to two friendly birds. Some of you may have heard this analogy, to two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds, the individual atomic soul, is eating the fruit of the tree, and the other bird, Krishna, is simply watching his friend. Of these two birds, although they are the same in quality, one is captivated by the fruits of the material tree, while the other is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. Krishna is the witnessing bird, and Arjuna is the eating bird. Although they are friends, one is still the master and the other is the servant. And forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another, or from one body to another. And then I'll just skip down because it's so beautiful. Srila Prabhupada says, Arjuna has now turned his face towards his eternal friend Krishna and is understanding the Bhagavad Gita from him. And thus, hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and be free from lamentation. Because earlier it's saying that although the two birds are in the same tree, one is kind of engrossed with the anxiety of getting all of the satisfaction and the fruits of this tree. And the other bird is just waiting, right? Krishna is just waiting for the other bird to turn towards him and to relieve those anxieties. And so, and the reason I bring that purport up is just because what is not worthy of lamentation, our anxiety and distress and moroseness that we get from trying to like suck all the pleasure and supposed satisfaction from the fruits of this material life, which and what is
This
worthy
is the
of
bird,
lamentation.
by the way.
This
This
is
right
the
here.
bird.
There's a beep, 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 beep. This one was the bird.
This is, and what is worthy of lamentation is my being stuck and my kind of just like blinded vision of that, and not being able to turn towards my friend who's actually there the whole time. And it's very hard. I'll say one last thing because I know I'm going on. I was talking to someone yesterday, a friend, a devotee, who's struggling a little bit. And he was just saying, like, I know that Krishna is like my best friend. Like, I know it, but it's so hard to turn to him because I'm just so afraid. I'm so afraid that is he gonna love me even though I'm like going through all this stuff? And it's just like, yes, he is. But that is, in my opinion, what's worthy of lamentation. Like that fear, that stuff that's keeping us from like making the turn. Oh, you've been there the whole time. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
I feel like this is why we have songs like Bhaja Hure Mana, which say, oh my Lord, not just this lifetime, but for lifetimes, I've been serving wicked and miserly people, right? We all kind of get stuck on the like wicked and miserly, and why is this pure hearted soul lamenting like this about their life? It's not about the life lived, it's about the spiritual life, as much of it that has not been explored. It's about, like you said, Kishore, it's about lamenting the fact that, oh my gosh, I've been wasting all of this time. And my friend Bird has literally been sitting here the whole time. And I keep getting in my own way. And I don't even know how to properly get out of my own way. I'm like trying and struggling. And then every time I seem to have made some progress that I think is progress, then it's like not only the planets, but me, myself, my spiritual advancement goes retrograde and I go backwards. And somehow I am stuck back in the same place that I was. And I feel like what's really amazing is that this Bhagavad Gita is going to come full circle. We're going to go through a whole lot of things. And then we're going to come back to this point right here. Which is Krishna's going to make things expand really huge, and then he's going to keep bringing them back down to, but you're just my friend. So don't be afraid because you're just my friend. Actually, you should even declare it boldly to all my other friends that they shouldn't be afraid either because they're my friends. And this is before the battle has been fought. Like, I was really thinking about um, this for the past few days, that Krishna is telling Arjuna all of this before any weapons have been lifted. No shots fired, nothing. Which means that Krishna knew. He already had a solution. He was totally fine sitting in his transcendence. It was completely okay. And so the big deal is that Krishna already knows. Even when we're sitting there like, but will he love me? He's like, already got the solution. If you just turn, I've had a solution this whole time. I've had a solution this whole time. And still, what's amazing about it, and I think I mentioned this before, I was reading it in Mahabharata, that they were saying that Krishna says at the end of the war that he hasn't really slept that those entire 18 days. He hasn't been able to sleep and he hasn't been able to eat because he's been wondering how he will structure everything for the highest benefit of his friends. How incredible. Krishna's losing sleep, trying to figure out, okay, I know what the end goal is, but how am I going to get my friend to cooperate to get there to the end goal? And that's the most important thing to Krishna, and that's it.
Question coming up in my mind, this idea, your original question, Atuta, of like what's worthy of anxiety or lamentation and why worry and trusting that Krishna is our friend, etc. Is how often do I ask myself, like, what am I really worried about? And what am I afraid of? And normally we have a very a surface level answer, but then if we take that, continue to ask ourselves like a step deeper, like what is it that I'm actually worrying about? What is it that's gripping me in anxiety? What is it that is overtaking me with fear? And if we just kind of like continue to dissect into that question, where Krishna takes us is that what you're actually worried about is something that you can never really lose, you know? And so I'm worried about losing this person. I'm worried about being alone. Well, actually, you're never really alone. I'm worried about losing purpose and meaning. Well, you'll never lose purpose and meaning. And I think that what happens is that we ascribe external things to the inner states of being that we're looking for, and then therefore the loss of those external things gets equated with my deepest fears of being alone, being cast out, being disconnected, being lost, etc. And Krishna's saying, like, wait a second, like, there's, it's like you have a math problem and like all of a sudden you come to the wrong conclusion. It's like you got to retrace your steps and like, at what point did this equation like mismatch, you know? And so like, let's go back and retrace our steps and reset the equation where at some point, A equals B, but like A never equaled B. We started on a false assumption. And so like I'm really just like undoing that assumption that we've all had, that we've been fed, and starting on a new place, And so I don't think it's the idea of like when he says you're lamenting for that which is not worthy of lamentation, it can sound dismissive, like, oh, just stop worrying about that, whatever. It's like, no, let's dig into lament. Like, what is it that you're lamenting and worrying about or anxiety about, and recognize that what you're really in anxiety worried about is actually something that you can never lose or have taken away.
Yeah, because he doesn't say that nothing is worthy of lamentation. There are things that are worthy of fighting for. There are things that are worthy of Arjuna's loyalty. Like he's really like, let me put this in perspective for you. You are, like you said, literally worrying over the wrong people. How did these people who have treated you so badly all of a sudden become worthy of all of your compassion and your grief. What about the other people here who have been working in your best interest your entire existence, who have been doing everything for you just to keep your health together, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and you drop them? They're not worthy of your compassion. But the people on that side who've been systematically trying to kill you, they become worthy of all of your compassion? How's that work? Especially for a person who is an administrator, who is an official, who is a protector, who's meant to be like all of these things in society. And I love the question that Martha is asking. Are we afraid of what the journey brings because of the spiritually unknown or because of the attachment to the material body? And I think there's a little bit of both. For us in this incarnation, there's such spiritual unknown. The true nature of the soul is that the soul already knows, right? Our mind and intelligence get completely clouded over, and then we get this spiritual amnesia. But the soul has always known. If the soul is indestructible and immutable and unchanging and all of these things, and the soul already remembers, it's got all of that within its spiritual DNA. It's us that gets cloudy, and the mirror of the heart, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it gets dusty and dank and dirty, and it smells like a musty basement, and it's all weird. And then on top of that, then we get attached to it. It's like, I can't ascend because I am really, 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 really enjoying being who I am right now. And then God is like, but are you really? Because just yesterday you told me that you weren't so happy with being who you were. That was a yesterday problem, God. What are you saying? Today I'm happy.
I'm nodding a lot because I just like was resonating with so much with that both of you were saying. I think not to retrace my steps and go back to yesterday, but
No, you should go back to yesterday. Let's see.
The almond milk. I think it's a very interesting thing, because let's just say that the almond milk represents you trying to do something that you think is going to fix your problems, right? Like, I thought that, like, you know what, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to make my own almond milk. Everything's going to be good. I'm such a great person, right? Whatever.
And not only that, but down with the establishment.
Down with the establishment.
Of this almond milk is not only going to fix my life, but the entire system.
Exactly. There's a lot of meaning packed in there. But it all, went into a rancid place, as we know from yesterday's conversation. And I think
We're
that,
using
like,
words rancid, dank,
Musty.
musty,
rotten. And I think that it's interesting because, like, if we're just taking this almond milk example as an analogy, it's like I can place all of my happiness into like this thing that I think is going to be like this is going to make me satisfied. This is going to make me happy. And I think it's really about catching yourself in those moments of like, you know what, actually this thing totally derailed my body. Like, it totally derailed my emotions. It totally derailed X, Y, and Z. But can I stay stable throughout it? Because just that almond milk example, it's like I could have gone in a spiral. I can't do anything right. Everything is meaningless. The establishment was right. Oh my God, I'm so sick. Everything's going wrong in my life. And actually, this almond milk is connected to what happened in my childhood. Like, I could just go into a whole and the almond milk can be anything. It could be a relationship that I really wanted to work out. It could be the house that I thought I needed to be happy, the car, the friends, the position that I wanted. And I love how Dayal was mentioning that we started on a false assumption, because we're thinking that A equals B. We're thinking that my happiness, that my connection with God means I'm going to get something out of life, or it means my life is going to look a certain way. And it's so interesting because I feel like we know that maybe on a knowledge level, it's like, yeah, I know it's not a transactional experience. And like, I know, God, that like, it's not supposed to be like this. I'm just supposed to love you no matter what. But for that knowledge to become realized and to become really embodied, it takes a lot of like reminders. It takes a lot of you going through the almond milk saga, whatever that might look like for you, getting to the place where you're sick of the material situation, in my case, physically sick from the almond milk, and being like, hey, can I get through this and not become resentful? Can I get through this distressful situation with my relationship, job, boss, family, almond milk, whatever it might be, and not become resentful of others, not become resentful of God? You know, why I did everything right, why didn't it work out, why aren't I happy? You know, and I think that that's what Doyal was mentioning. It's like we have to go back to the beginning and realize, like, hey, did we start on a false assumption that A equals B? We need to like redo this whole thing. And that's a beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada. It's saying like that super soul, that Krishna bird is always there and is always waiting for us to turn towards him. And we're thinking that the equation is, I'm going to munch on all these fruits of the material tree and it's going to somehow make me happy. But actually, that's the incorrect starting point, actually. And it makes so many of us unhappy, actually. Like, I think I'm going to get some sort of happiness. And for me, it's been a lot of like daily reminders. Like, I feel like we need daily reminders. You're not going to get happiness out of this material life. Like it's almost like you need to repeat it to
I
yourself.
need hourly reminders.
Hourly
It's like
reminders.
a minute by minute thing where I have to put the alarm on my phone with the little blurb
That's
under.
why we're here.
Why we're here.
That's why we're here. You guys, if anyone's tuning in today for the first time, please go back and listen to yesterday to pick up the almond milk thread.
Okay? Because like Srila Prabhupada has said a good
Srila Prabhupada made his own almond milk.
Okay? He has said a really good analogy must be able to be taken like all the way. And so I say to you, Kishore, that this almond milk analogy is one of the best modern analogies that I've heard in a long time, because what Sydney said is correct. She's like, you know, you hate almonds now. And that's actually like it could spiral into, not only do I now am never gonna make almond milk again, I hate almond milk, I hate almonds. And every time I see them, I just want to throw up. And that's how we treat our relationship with God. We do something, we try to juice the happiness out of life. And then when it doesn't work, we turn around and turn it back on the source that actually had nothing to do with it. Almonds have not wronged us. And yet, we could come out of this feeling so bitter that we will literally throw out everything. You know what? I'm not even talking to God anymore. And meanwhile, the other, the bird in the tree, it's like, I was just watching. So yeah, like, okay, that's the problem, God. Because not only were you just watching, why were you just watching? Like, why didn't you intervene and not make my almonds go rancid? Like, what is your problem? But also, like the fact that I can't trust you because my almonds and my almond milk went rancid. And it's like, but that was material nature. Like, I still didn't have anything to do with that. Like, and there was somebody over there who told me that making my own almond milk would go perfectly on the first try. And since it didn't, I can't believe them or you. It's like, what did the almonds do? But now we are on an almond fast. And I'm sure we could probably make a religious like plea. Like, we could probably make a really good religious case on why almonds are the scourge of the earth. It all comes back to the almonds.
All right, guys. This podcast brought to you by Blue Diamond. Every podcast has a sponsor.
I don't know if they would want to sponsor us after that.
Well, maybe we would tell them to like buy it, I don't know.
Yeah.
This podcast brought to you by Oatly.
There you go.
On that note, maybe we take our takeaways here.
Yeah.
Kimberly, what I know what my takeaway is.
We're taking away that we started on a false assumption and that we should turn towards our bird friend.
Simple.
Mhm.
I think my takeaway is not only to watch where my lamentation and my grief and my compassion is going, but then simultaneously watching where my blame is going. Because when I get into situations, not only do I give lamentation and compassion and grief and all of these feelings, sometimes to unnecessary people, places, things, but my blame goes all awry, and a lot of times that blame goes on to my supreme person. I'm like this because you left me. It's like, actually, you left me, and I've been sitting here the whole time. So I want to really just kind of be conscious about where I cast my blame, where I cast my lamentation, what I am doing with my thinking faculties.
I'm taking away that I have a choice in how I react to situations, because the situations will come, right? The almond milk will go rancid, and I can either choose to learn from that experience of like, hey, it's the summer and it's 90 degrees. And now I learn. Now I know I can't over soak them in the summer. Or I can choose the other way of becoming really angry and bitter and resentful, and all of these negative feelings I think I'm taking away today. They're a choice. You know, they'll come, and it's a choice of how long I let them stay or how I choose to deal with them. And I think that that's really important, to be able to take a step back, take a breath, realize what's happening, and be like, oh, okay, I'm feeling all this negative stuff, but I can learn from this situation.
What am I worried about, really? That's my question.
So maybe, and I think I've said, well, I don't know, definitely thought about it before. So maybe at the end, with what both of you are saying, Kishore and Doyal, is when those moments come back up, where it seems like we are faced again with the lesson that we thought we had already learned. Maybe it's not a punishment divinely. Maybe it's just showing us how much new perspective we've gained. It's a chance for us to just gain a different viewpoint.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. I love that so much, because it's very hopeful, that message, Achyuta. It's very, very hopeful. Okie dokie, folks. We are fresh out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our live studio audience from all over the States and Mexico. Thank you all. And thank you, Doyal and Achyuta. And we will be here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time for your daily reminders. Thank you, folks. Goodbye.